In a bustling bank in downtown Chicago, where dreams were either made or broken with the stroke of a pen. Let us know where you're watching from today as we share a story that would change not just one life, but an entire community. This tale begins with two individuals whose paths would cross in the most unexpected way. Celeste Quinn, a hard-working single mother of three, and basketball legend Michael Jordan, whose presence in the bank that day would turn the tables. On an institution that had forgotten the meaning of compassion, the morning sun filtered through the tall glass windows of First Metropolitan Bank, casting long shadows across the polished marble floors. Celeste stood at the loan officer's desk, her hands trembling slightly as she clutched a folder containing every document she could gather to prove her worthiness for a small business loan. Her dream of opening a small bakery, born from years of perfecting recipes passed down through generations, seemed to be slipping through her fingers like grains of sand. The loan officer, Dorian Wexler, a man whose crisp suit and cold demeanor matched the sterile environment of the bank, barely glanced at the carefully prepared business plan Celeste had spent months perfecting. His dismissive attitude spoke volumes before he even opened his mouth. The air in the bank grew heavier with each passing moment, as other customers pretended not to notice the scene unfolding before them. "Ms. Quinn," Dorian began, his voice carrying the practiced condescension of someone who enjoyed wielding power over others' dreams. "While your enthusiasm is noted, the bank has certain standards to maintain. Your credit history, though not terrible, isn't exactly stellar, and as a single parent with no significant collateral." He let the words hang in the air, each one a dagger to Celeste's hopes. What neither of them noticed was the tall figure who had just entered the bank, dressed casually in a perfectly tailored suit. Michael Jordan, who had come in for a routine. Meeting with the bank's management, paused as he overheard the conversation. He remained in the background, his presence temporarily unnoticed as the scene continued to unfold. Celeste straightened her spine, summoning the dignity that had carried her through countless challenges. "Mr. Wexler, I understand your concerns, but if you look at my business plan, you'll see that I've accounted for every possible contingency. I've already secured a location with reasonable rent, and my market research shows a strong demand for artisanal bakeries in that neighborhood." Dorian Wexler's laugh was soft but cutting. "Ms. Quinn, perhaps you don't understand how this works. Running a successful business requires more than just baking cookies. The current economic climate demands a certain level of security that you simply cannot provide." The other customers in the bank shifted uncomfortably. Among them, Evangeline Holt, a regular patron, watched with growing dismay as she recognized Celeste from their children's school. Nearby, Rowan Blair, a young entrepreneur who had once faced similar prejudices, clenched his jaw in silent anger. "I have 15 years of experience in professional kitchens," Celeste continued, her voice steady despite the humiliation burning in her chest. "I've managed restaurants, I've catered events, and I've saved every penny I could for this opportunity. All I'm asking for is a chance." "A chance?" Dorian leaned back in his chair, his smile never reaching his eyes. "Ms. Quinn, banks don't deal in chances. We deal in certainties. And a single mother with 3 children trying to start a business in this economy, that's certainly a risk we're not willing to take." It was at this moment that Michael Jordan stepped forward, his presence immediately commanding attention as heads turned and whispers rippled through the bank lobby. Dorian Wexler's expression froze as he recognized the legendary figure approaching his desk. "I couldn't help but overhear." Jordan's voice carried the quiet authority of someone who had faced and overcome countless obstacles. "And I'm interested in hearing more about this business plan." The atmosphere in the bank shifted instantly. Dorian Wexler's face paled as he realized his mistake. while Celeste stood in shocked silence, hardly daring to believe what was happening. Jordan picked up the business plan from Wexler's desk, taking his time to read through the carefully crafted projections and marketing strategies. "Impressive," he said finally, looking at Celeste with genuine respect. "You've done your homework. These numbers are solid, and your experience speaks for itself." He turned to Wexler, whose arrogance had melted away like snow in summer. "I'm curious, Mr. Wexler. What exactly about this plan doesn't meet your standards?" Dorian stammered, his earlier confidence evaporating under Jordan's steady gaze. "Well, Mr. Jordan, sir, it's just that our policies, the risk assessment, you understand?" "Actually, I don't understand," Jordan replied, his voice carrying the same intensity that had made him legendary on the basketball court. "What I see is a qualified entrepreneur with a solid business plan being dismissed without proper consideration. Is that how First Metropolitan treats all its potential clients, or just the single mothers?" The bank had fallen completely silent. Even the security guards, Thorn Archer and Phoenix Cruz, watched the scene with barely concealed interest. Jordan continued, "I'll tell you what. I'm going to personally guarantee this loan. And more than that, I'd like to review your lending policies, particularly regarding small business owners and single parents." Celeste's eyes welled with tears, but these were different from the ones she had been fighting back earlier. "Mr. Jordan, I don't know what to say." "Don't say anything." Jordan smiled. "Just make sure I get an invitation to the grand opening of your bakery. I have a feeling it's going to be something special." The story spread through the bank like wildfire, and soon Celeste's phone was buzzing with messages from other local business owners offering support and advice. Eden Locke, who owned a successful marketing firm, offered to help with the bakery's branding. Sage Delaney, a prominent food critic, expressed interest in featuring the bakery in an upcoming article. As word of the incident spread throughout the community, it became clear that Celeste's experience had struck a chord with many who had faced similar barriers. The local business association, led by Lyra Stone, began organizing workshops and mentorship programs for aspiring entrepreneurs from underserved communities. Dorian Wexler found himself reassigned to a different branch, while the bank's management, under Jordan's scrutiny, began revising their lending practices. The incident sparked a larger conversation about access to capital and the importance of giving everyone a fair chance at achieving their dreams. Celeste's Bakery, which she named Quinn's Rising, became more than just a business. It became a symbol of hope and perseverance. The location she had chosen, once considered risky by the bank, transformed into a community hub where people gathered not just for her famous pastries, but for the warmth and inspiration her story provided. Michael Jordan's intervention that day did more than just help one person. It challenged an entire system that had too often dismissed dreams based on prejudice rather than potential. As news of the incident spread, other banks in the area began reviewing their own lending practices, creating new programs specifically designed to support small business owners from diverse backgrounds. The story of Celeste Quinn and Michael Jordan's encounter at First Metropolitan Bank became a powerful reminder that sometimes all it takes is one person willing to stand up and challenge the status quo to create lasting change. It proved that success isn't just about numbers on a spreadsheet. It's about character, determination, and the courage to pursue one's dreams despite the obstacles. How many of you have faced similar challenges while pursuing your dreams? Has anyone ever stepped in to help you when all seemed lost? Share your stories in the comments below and let us know where you're watching from today. Remember, sometimes the biggest victories come after the most difficult battles, and no one should ever have to face them alone. This story continues to inspire others, reminding us that true leadership isn't about wielding power. It's about using your influence to lift others up and create opportunities for those who might otherwise be overlooked. As Celeste's bakery flourished and her community grew stronger, the ripple effects of that one moment in the bank continued to spread, touching lives far beyond what anyone could have imagined. Word had spread quickly about the encounter at First Metropolitan Bank, and within days, Celeste Quinn's story became more than just local news. It was a symbol of hope that resonated across the city. The morning after the incident, she woke up to find her phone flooded with messages of support and, more surprisingly, pre-orders for her yet-to-open bakery. Michael Jordan's intervention had set in motion a chain of events that would transform not just one family's future, but an entire community's perspective on what was possible. As Celeste stood in front of the dusty storefront that would soon become Quinn's Rising, she couldn't help but marvel at how quickly life could change. The building, situated on a corner where the old and new parts of the city met, had character. Beneath its worn exterior, Ivy Sinclair, a renowned local architect who had heard about Celeste's story, approached her that morning with an offer to help with the renovation plans. "Every great business starts with a strong foundation," Ivy said, her eyes sparkling with excitement as she surveyed the space. "And this place, it has good bones." As they walked through the empty storefront, Celeste shared her vision with Ivy. She didn't want just another bakery. She wanted to create a space where people could feel the same warmth and comfort she had experienced in her grandmother's kitchen. The old tiles might be cracked, and the walls might need fresh paint, but Celeste could already see the potential. What happened next demonstrated the true power of community. Nova Wren, a skilled contractor who had grown up in the neighborhood, offered to lead the renovation at cost. "My mother was a single parent too," she explained, sketching out ideas for the layout. "She taught me that sometimes the biggest dreams need the most help to become reality." The bank loan, now approved and guaranteed by Jordan, came through faster than anyone expected. Dorian Wexler's replacement, Juniper Cross, approached the process with a fresh perspective, working to streamline the paperwork and offering guidance on financial planning. It was a stark contrast to the treatment Celeste had received just days before. But the story took an unexpected turn when Zara Monroe, a local journalist, uncovered something interesting while researching First Metropolitan's lending history. The bank's discriminatory practices hadn't just affected Celeste. Dozens of other qualified applicants, particularly single parents and minorities, had been turned away under similar circumstances. This revelation caught Michael Jordan's attention once again. During a meeting with the bank's board of directors, he made it clear that surface-level changes wouldn't be enough. "We're not just fixing one loan application," he stated firmly. "We're addressing a systemic problem that's been holding this community back for years." The bank's leadership, including President Kieran Hart, found themselves under intense scrutiny. Jordan's influence, combined with growing community pressure, forced them to announce a comprehensive review of their lending practices. They established a new community advisory board, including successful local business owners like Delilah Wynn and River Bell, to help reshape their approach to small business loans. Meanwhile, the renovation of Quinn's Rising became a community project. Iris Lennox, whose family had owned the local hardware store for generations, supplied materials at a discount. Serafina Vale, a talented muralist, offered to paint the storefront with a design that would capture the essence of Celeste's vision. The construction crew, led by Nova, worked tirelessly to transform the space. They uncovered beautiful hardwood floors beneath the old linoleum and restored the original tin ceiling that had been hidden under decades of cheap tiles. Each discovery felt like a sign that they were on the right path. As news of the project spread, other business owners in the area began to take notice. The once quiet street showed signs of revival as neighboring storefronts got fresh paint and new businesses began to consider the area. Quinn's Rising was becoming a catalyst for change before it even opened its doors. Celeste's children watched in amazement as their mother's dream took shape. The oldest especially began to understand the significance of what was happening. "Mom," she said one evening as they stood in the half-finished space, "you're not just building a bakery, are you?" Indeed, she wasn't. Quinn's Rising was becoming a testament to perseverance, community support, and the power of giving people a chance. The project attracted attention from other successful entrepreneurs like Aurora James and Dahlia Rhodes, who offered to mentor Celeste and other aspiring business owners in the area. Michael Jordan's continued involvement ensured that the story stayed in the public eye. He made regular visits to check on the progress, each time bringing more attention to the broader issues of economic opportunity and community development. His presence reminded everyone that this wasn't just about a bakery. It was about creating lasting change. The transformation wasn't without its challenges. Construction delays, permit issues, and unexpected repairs tested Celeste's resolve. But each obstacle was met with solutions offered by community members who had become invested in the project's success. When the ancient plumbing system needed unexpected repairs, Freya Bell, a master plumber, stepped in with her team to handle the work at a reduced rate. As the opening day approached, the impact of what had started as a confrontation in a bank lobby became increasingly clear. First Metropolitan, under new leadership, had approved 15 small business loans to applicants who might previously have been rejected. Other banks in the area, noting the positive publicity, began reviewing their own lending practices. The local business association, energized by the changes, organized a series of workshops on entrepreneurship and financial planning. Celeste, despite her busy schedule with the bakery preparations, made time to share her story at these events. Her experience became a roadmap for others who'd been told their dreams were too risky or their backgrounds too uncertain. 1 month before the opening, Michael Jordan made an announcement that sent ripples through the business community. He was establishing a foundation to provide mentorship and support to entrepreneurs from underserved communities. The first initiative would be a partnership with local banks to create a special loan program for single parents starting businesses. The media attention brought unexpected opportunities. Esme Lane, a producer from a national morning show, contacted Celeste about featuring Quinn's Rising in a segment about community transformation and economic empowerment. The story was no longer just about a single mom opening a bakery. It had become a movement. As the renovation neared completion, the space was transformed beyond Celeste's wildest dreams. The large windows filled the bakery with natural light, highlighting the warm colors and inviting atmosphere. The kitchen, equipped with both modern efficiency and old-world charm, was designed to be not just functional, but also welcoming, a space where future baking classes and community events could be held. Maisie Knox, a local food writer, visited during the final stages of preparation and was moved to tears by the aromas of test batches being baked. "This isn't just about selling bread and pastries," she wrote in her blog. "This is about feeding the soul of a community that's been hungry for change." The story of Quinn's Rising became a case study in several business schools, highlighting the importance of community support and ethical lending practices. Professor Ophelia Blair from the local university brought her students to visit the site, teaching them that successful businesses could be built on foundations of both profit and purpose. As opening day approached, Celeste found herself reflecting on the journey. The woman who had stood trembling in that bank lobby seemed like a different person now. She had discovered strength she didn't know she possessed, But more importantly, she had experienced the power of a community coming together to support one of its own. The night before the grand opening, Celeste hosted a private event for everyone who had helped make Queen's Rising a reality. Michael Jordan was there, of course, but so were the countless others who had contributed their time, skills, and support. Nova Wren, the contractor, Ivy Sinclair, the architect, Juniper Cross, the new loan officer, and dozens of others who had become part of the extended Queen's Rising family. As she looked around at the gathered faces, Celeste realized that her bakery had already achieved its most important goal before selling a single loaf of bread. It had become a symbol of what was possible when people chose to lift each other up instead of turning them away. Have you ever been part of a community project that changed more than just one person's life? Share your stories in the comments below, and don't forget to let us know where you're watching from today. Sometimes the sweetest victories are the ones we achieve together, and the most powerful changes start with a single moment of standing up for what's right. The story of Queen's Rising was far from over, but its impact was already being felt throughout the city. As the sun set on the eve of the grand opening, the warmly lit windows of the bakery cast a glow that seemed to promise a brighter future, not just for Celeste and her family, but for everyone who dared to dream big and refused to take no for an answer. The morning of Queen's Rising's grand opening dawned with a golden light that seemed to bless the occasion. By 5 a.m., the ovens were already warm, filling the air with the intoxicating aroma of freshly baked bread and pastries. Celeste had been up since 3, her hands moving with practiced precision as she prepared the first batches of what would become her signature creations. In the pre-dawn quiet, as she worked alongside her small but dedicated team, including talented baker Rowan, steel and pastry specialist Bryn Carter, Celeste felt a profound sense of gratitude. The journey that had begun with rejection at First Metropolitan Bank had blossomed into something far greater than she had ever imagined. Outside, a line had already begun to form. Thea Whitman, who lived in the apartment building across the street, had claimed the first spot at 4:30 a.m., determined to be part of this historic day. Behind her, the queue grew steadily, filled with faces both familiar and new, all drawn by the story that had captured the city's imagination. At precisely 7 a.m., Celeste opened the doors to Queen's Rising. The first person to enter, however, wasn't a customer. It was Michael Jordan himself, carrying a large arrangement of flowers. "I wouldn't miss this for the world," he said, embracing Celeste in a warm hug. "This is more than just a business opening. This is a statement about what's possible when we believe in people." The crowd that had gathered erupted in applause, and soon the bakery was filled with the buzz of excitement and joy. The display cases, artfully arranged with everything from delicate French pastries to hearty artisanal breads, quickly began to empty as customers eagerly purchased their first tastes of Queen's Rising's offerings. Among the morning's first customers was Ilara Frost, the influential food critic who'd been following the story since the beginning. She ordered one of everything, settling into a corner table to methodically taste and take notes. Her presence added an extra layer of nervous energy to the already electric atmosphere. But it wasn't just the food that people had come for. They had come to be part of something meaningful. Dante Wolf, a local business owner who had faced similar banking discrimination years ago, brought his teenage daughter. "I want her to see this," he explained, gesturing to the bustling scene. "I want her to know that sometimes the biggest no can lead to the most important yes." By midday, Queen's Rising had sold out of nearly everything. The kitchen team, led by Celeste, worked tirelessly to keep up with demand, but the overwhelming support had exceeded even their most optimistic projections. Local news crews arrived to capture the scene, interviewing customers who had waited hours just to be part of the opening day. The afternoon brought another surprise when Weston Hale, the mayor's chief of staff, arrived with an official proclamation, declaring it Quinn's Rising Day in the city. The document recognized not just the bakery's opening, but the broader impact the project had had on community development and small business advocacy. As the day progressed, the bakery became a gathering place for people from all walks of life. In one corner, Paloma Cruz, a corporate executive, shared a table with Phoenix Wilder, a construction worker, both drawn together by their appreciation for both the food and the story behind it. The space Celeste had envisioned as a community hub was already fulfilling its purpose. The impact extended beyond just the bakery itself. Neighboring businesses reported increased foot traffic, and the street had a newfound energy. Calla Rivers, who owned the bookstore next door, had set up a display of cookbooks and business inspiration titles in her window, creating a perfect synergy with her new neighbor. By late afternoon, when the final customers had been served and the last crumbs had been swept away, Celeste gathered her team for a moment of reflection. The day's sales had exceeded their monthly projections, but more importantly, they had witnessed the power of community in action. What none of them knew was that the day's events had caught the attention of national media. Cassian Hale, a producer for a major network, had been in the crowd, quietly documenting the opening for a potential feature story about community transformation and economic empowerment. As the sun began to set, casting long shadows through the bakery's windows, Michael Jordan returned. This time, he brought with him several members of the First Metropolitan Bank Board, including those who had initially supported Dorian Wexler's discriminatory practices. The contrast between their previous dismissal and the day's success was stark. "I hope you're taking notes," Jordan told them, gesturing to the cleared display cases and the still buzzing dining area. "This is what happens when you give people a chance. This is what opportunity looks like." The bank executives, including Lennox Ford and Beckett Shaw, had already begun implementing changes in their lending practices, but seeing the tangible results of believing in someone's dream had a profound impact. They announced on the spot that they would be expanding their community lending program, with Quinn's Rising as the model of success. As the day drew to a close, Celeste received an unexpected visit from Sienna Blake, a successful restaurateur who had opened her first business 20 years ago. "I wish someone had done for me what Jordan did for you," she said, tears in her eyes. "But what matters is that things are changing now, and you're part of that change." The following days saw Quinn's Rising settling into a rhythm, but one that exceeded all expectations. The bakery became known not just for its exceptional products, but for its atmosphere of warmth and inclusion. Celeste implemented a pay-it-forward system, where customers could pre-purchase items for those who couldn't afford them, creating a cycle of community support. Local schools began arranging field trips to learn about entrepreneurship and baking. Celeste worked with Aurora James to develop a mentorship program for aspiring young bakers, particularly those from underprivileged backgrounds. The kitchen that had once seemed too large now buzzed with activity as students learned alongside professionals. The success of Quinn's Rising had a ripple effect throughout the banking industry. Other financial institutions, seeing the positive publicity and community goodwill generated by Jordan's intervention, began reviewing their own lending practices. First Metropolitan's new community lending program, overseen by Juniper Cross, became a model for banks across the country. 1 month after the opening, Ilara Frost's review was published. She praised not just the quality of the food, but the establishment's role in community building. "Quinn's Rising," she wrote, "represents the best of what happens when excellence meets opportunity. Every bite tells a story of perseverance, and every visit feels like coming home." The bakery's impact continued to grow in unexpected ways. Local business groups organized regular meetings there, and it became a popular spot for aspiring entrepreneurs to gather and share ideas. Celeste found herself increasingly called upon to speak at events about her journey, inspiring others to pursue their dreams despite obstacles. The story had come full circle when, 2 months after opening, Celeste hosted a special event for aspiring business owners to meet with bank representatives, including the newly reformed First Metropolitan team. The same space that had been born from a banking rejection was now fostering new relationships between financial institutions and the community they served. Have you ever witnessed a moment of rejection transform into an opportunity for widespread change? Share your stories of community triumph in the comments below, and don't forget to tell us where you're watching from today. Sometimes the sweetest success stories are baked with ingredients we never expected to find in the recipe. As Quinn's Rising continued to thrive, it stood as a testament to what could happen when someone refused to let their dreams be denied. The aroma of fresh bread still filled the air each morning, but now it carried with it the scent of hope. Hope for other dreamers, other strivers, and other believers in the power of community to rise together. 6 months into Quinn's Rising's success story, an unexpected challenge emerged that would test not only Celeste's resolve, but the strength of the community that had rallied behind her. As autumn painted the city streets in amber and gold, a large corporate bakery chain, Stella Bakes, announced plans to open a location just 2 blocks from Quinn's Rising. The news sent ripples of concern through the neighborhood. Stella Bakes was known for its aggressive business tactics and deep pockets, often moving into thriving communities and undercutting local businesses until they were forced to close. Their CEO, Rowan Blair, had a reputation for being ruthlessly efficient in eliminating competition. The morning after the announcement, Celeste arrived at her bakery to find Mira Grayson, a longtime customer and local business reporter, waiting. Outside, "I wanted you to hear it from a friend first," Mira said, showing Celeste the press release. "They're planning to offer opening promotions at 50% below market rate for the first 3 months. Inside, as the morning crew prepared for the day's baking, Celeste shared the news with her team. Instead of fear, she was met with determination. Dante Wolfe, who had become her head baker, spoke first. "They might have money, but they don't have heart, and they certainly don't have your recipes." Word spread quickly through the community. By midday, Quinn's Rising was packed with supporters, including Michael Jordan, who had made an unexpected visit after hearing the news. "Sometimes success brings new challenges," he said, sitting with Celeste during a rare quiet moment. "But you've got something they can never buy: authenticity and community, trust." The following weeks saw an interesting development as the community mobilized in ways no one had anticipated. Esme Lane, who owned the building where Stella Bakes planned to open, suddenly discovered structural issues that would require months of inspection and renovation. The city's permit office, led by Kieran Hart, began a thorough review of all the chain's applications, ensuring every regulation was strictly followed. Meanwhile, Quinn's Rising continued to innovate and grow. Celeste introduced a new line of heritage recipes, each with a story, connecting it to the community's diverse cultural background. She partnered with local farmers like Iris Lennox to source ingredients, creating a farm-to-table narrative that resonated with customers. The media attention brought by the potential corporate invasion had an unexpected benefit. Nova Ren produced a documentary series about local businesses fighting corporate takeovers, with Quinn's Rising as its centerpiece. The series went viral, drawing support from across the country and turning Celeste's bakery into a symbol of community resistance to corporate homogenization. But Stella Bakes wasn't backing down easily. They sent representatives to Quinn's Rising, posing as customers while taking detailed notes about operations, prices, and customer patterns. Zara Monroe, now working as Quinn's Rising's marketing manager, spotted them immediately and turned their presence into a social media opportunity, posting about how even the competition can't resist our authentic flavors. The corporate chain's next move was to approach Celeste directly. Their regional director, Felix Mercer, arrived one afternoon with an offer to buy Quinn's Rising and retain Celeste as a brand ambassador. The number he quoted was substantial enough to provide financial security for generations. Celeste's response became legendary in the neighborhood. "Mr. Mercer," she said, serving him a slice of her grandmother's apple pie, "some things aren't for sale. This isn't just a bakery, it's a promise to this community, and I don't break my promises." The story of her refusal spread quickly, and the community's response was immediate and overwhelming. Local restaurants began featuring Quinn's Rising pastries on their dessert menus. Schools contracted with the bakery for special events. Even corporate offices in the area switched their catering orders from national chains to Quinn's Rising. Michael Jordan once again stepped in, this time with a broader vision. He announced a partnership program between his foundation and Quinn's Rising to provide baking and business training for young people from underserved communities. The program would offer scholarships and apprenticeships, creating a pipeline of skilled workers while giving back to the community. The arrival of winter brought news that Stella Bakes was reconsidering its expansion plans in the area. Their market research had revealed an unexpectedly strong community alliance that would make their usual business model ineffective. The structural issues in their intended location remained unresolved, and their permit applications were still under review. But the story didn't end with Stella Bakes' retreat. The experience had taught Celeste and her team valuable lessons about community resilience and the power of authentic relationships. Quinn's Rising began offering workshops on community-based business strategies, sharing their experience with other local entrepreneurs facing similar challenges. Thea Whitman, a business professor at the local university, developed a case study about Quinn's Rising's response to corporate competition. The key insight was that success in modern business wasn't just about products and prices. It was about creating genuine connections and fostering community loyalty. As the holiday season approached, Quinn's Rising unveiled an initiative that captured the spirit of their victory. They launched a Community Rising program where a portion of their profits would go into a fund to help other local businesses strengthen their operations and resist corporate takeover attempts. The program's first beneficiary was Aurora James, a talented baker who had been running her business from home. With support from the fund and mentorship from Celeste, she opened a small cafe in a neighboring community, creating another outpost of locally owned, community-centered business. The impact of Quinn's Rising's stand against corporate takeover extended far beyond their neighborhood. Other communities facing similar situations reached out for advice and support. Celeste found herself speaking at national conferences about community-based business development and the importance of maintaining local character in the face of corporate expansion. 1 year after Quinn's Rising's opening, the bakery hosted a celebration that was part anniversary party and part victory celebration. The street was closed for a block party that brought together customers, supporters, and even some former skeptics. Michael Jordan attended, this time bringing other professional athletes interested in community investment. During the celebration, Celeste revealed another surprise. Quinn's Rising would be expanding, but not in the way many expected. Instead of opening more locations, they were enlarging their training program and community support initiatives. The bakery would become a hub for culinary education and business mentorship, ensuring that the next generation of entrepreneurs would have the support they needed to succeed. Have you ever seen a community come together to protect something valuable? Share your stories of standing up to big corporations in the comments below and let us know where you're watching from today. Sometimes the biggest victories come not from fighting alone, but from standing together. The story of Quinn's Rising's resistance to corporate takeover became a blueprint for other communities facing similar challenges. It proved that success in business wasn't just about financial capital, it was about social capital, about building relationships and trust that no amount of corporate money could buy. As the winter snow began to fall, Quinn's Rising stood, warm and inviting, its windows glowing with light and promise. Inside, the scent of fresh bread and community spirit mingled in the air, creating something that no corporate formula could ever replicate. The authentic taste of home and hope, served fresh daily with a side of determination. The success of Quinn's Rising had grown beyond anything Celeste could have imagined, but with growth came new challenges and responsibilities. As spring bloomed in the city, she found herself facing an unexpected opportunity that would test her values and vision for the future. Juniper Cross, now promoted to Regional Director of Community Development at First Metropolitan Bank, approached Celeste with a proposal that would change everything. The bank, in partnership with Michael Jordan's foundation, wanted to create a nationwide program to support minority and single-parent entrepreneurs. They wanted Quinn's Rising to be the model and Celeste to lead the initiative. The proposal was comprehensive, a network of community-focused bakeries across the country, each owned and operated independently, but united under the Quinn's Rising philosophy of community engagement and social responsibility. The bank would provide funding, Jordan's foundation would offer support and mentorship, and Celeste would guide the vision. This isn't about creating a chain, Juniper explained during a meeting that included Jordan and several community leaders. It's about replicating the magic you've created here, the way you've made this bakery more than just a business. It's about building bridges in communities that need them. The idea sparked intense discussion in the community. Evangeline Holt, who had become one of Celeste's closest advisors, saw the potential for widespread impact. "Think about all the other Celestes out there," she said. "Talented people just waiting for their chance. You could help them find it." The planning process began with careful consideration of how to maintain authenticity while scaling the impact. Celeste worked with Dahlia Rhodes, an organizational development expert, to create a framework that would preserve the essential elements of Quinn's Rising success: community involvement, quality products, and social responsibility. The first test case came in the form of Eden Vale, a talented baker from a struggling neighborhood in Detroit. Like Celeste, she had faced rejection from traditional banks and struggled to find support for her dream. The program provided not just financial backing, but a comprehensive support system including mentorship, business training, and community engagement strategies. Michael Jordan took a personal interest in the expansion project, often flying to different cities to meet with potential participants. "What we're building here isn't just a business network," he explained during a community meeting in Atlanta. "We're creating a movement that shows what's possible when we invest in people and communities." The program's structure was carefully designed to avoid the pitfalls of traditional franchising. Each bakery would maintain its individual identity while following core principles of community engagement and social responsibility. The owners would have autonomy in their operations, but would benefit from shared resources and support. Celeste found herself traveling more, meeting with aspiring entrepreneurs and community leaders across the country. In each city, she shared not just her business expertise, but the deeper lessons she had learned about the power of community support and authentic relationships. Back at the original Quinn's Rising, the team continued to innovate and grow under the leadership of Rowan Steele, who had become general manager. The bakery launched new community programs, including a youth apprenticeship initiative and a food security project for elderly residents. The impact of the expansion program began to show in unexpected ways. In Philadelphia, a Quinn's Rising supported bakery became a catalyst for neighborhood revitalization. In Phoenix, another location partnered with local schools to create culinary education programs. Each success story added to the growing evidence that the model could work on a larger scale. However, the growth brought challenges. Some worried that the program might inadvertently create the very type of corporate structure they had once resisted. Celeste addressed these concerns head-on, implementing strict guidelines to ensure that each location remained truly community-focused. "We're not building a chain," she explained during a national business conference. "We're growing a garden. Each bakery is unique, rooted in its own community, but sharing the same nurturing principles that help everything grow." The program's success attracted attention from major media outlets. Serafina Vale, now a producer for a national news network, created a documentary series following the stories of different Quinn's Rising supported entrepreneurs. The series highlighted the transformative power of community-based business development. 1 year into the expansion program, the network had grown to include 15 locations across the country. Each bakery had its own character, reflecting the unique flavors and traditions of its community, but all shared the core values that had made the original Quinn's Rising successful. The impact extended beyond just the bakeries themselves. The program became a model for community-based business development, studied by economists and social scientists interested in alternative approaches to urban renewal and economic empowerment. First Metropolitan Bank's community lending program, inspired by the Quinn's Rising story, had grown into one of their most successful initiatives. Other banks began developing similar programs, creating a shift in how financial institutions approached community investment. Michael Jordan's foundation expanded its focus on community business development, using the lessons learned from Quinn's Rising to support entrepreneurs in other industries. The ripple effects of what had started as one woman's dream of opening a bakery were now touching lives across the country. As spring turned to summer, Celeste found herself back in her original kitchen, teaching a group of aspiring entrepreneurs from across the country. Among them was Iris Lennox's daughter, who had grown up watching Quinn's Rising story unfold and now dreamed of creating something similar in her own community. The lesson she shared with them wasn't just about baking or business management. It was about the power of believing in yourself even when others don't, about the importance of maintaining authenticity in the face of growth, and about the transformative power of community support. Have you ever seen a small success grow into something bigger than anyone imagined? Share your stories of dreams that expanded beyond their original scope in the comments below, and let us know where you're watching from today. Sometimes the greatest achievements come from daring to think bigger while staying true to your roots. The story of Quinn's Rising's expansion showed that success doesn't have to mean sacrificing principles for profit. It demonstrated that with the right support and vision, individual dreams could grow into movements that lift entire communities. As Celeste often said, "We're not just baking bread, we're rising together, one community at a time." As Quinn's Rising approached its second anniversary, the culmination of everything Celeste had built was about to face its greatest test. A national economic downturn began affecting communities across the country. threatening many of the small businesses that had become part of the Queen's Rising network. The morning Celeste received the first distress call from Luna Frost, one of the bakery owners in Cincinnati. She knew this would be different from any challenge they'd faced before. "People are losing their jobs," Luna explained, her voice tight with worry. "They can't afford artisanal bread anymore. We're seeing our sales drop every week." Similar reports started coming in from other locations. In Detroit, Eden Vale was struggling to maintain her community programs while keeping her business afloat. In Atlanta, Phoenix Wilder's Bakery was facing increased competition from discount chains targeting economically stressed neighborhoods. Michael Jordan called an emergency meeting at the original Queen's Rising location. The gathering included Celeste, key community leaders, and representatives from First Metropolitan Bank. The situation was serious, but Jordan's first words set the tone for what would follow. "This isn't about survival. It's about transformation." What emerged from that meeting was a bold new vision. Instead of retreating in the face of economic pressure, Queen's Rising would expand its community focus. Each location would adapt its business model to address the specific needs of its community. During difficult times, Celeste worked with Juniper Cross to develop flexible payment programs and community support initiatives. They created a Pay What You Can program for basic bread products, ensuring that no one in their communities would go hungry. The loss in revenue would be offset by a new line of premium products marketed to customers who could still afford them. The implementation of this dual pricing strategy proved challenging but effective. Rowan Steele helped develop a system where more affluent customers could prepay for products that would be available to those in need. The program, called Breaking Bread Together, quickly became a model for other businesses facing similar challenges. Innovation emerged from necessity. In Philadelphia, Iris Lennox's daughter created a mobile bakery program, bringing fresh bread directly to elderly residents who couldn't afford transportation. In Phoenix, another location partnered with local farmers who were also struggling, creating a farm-to-table cooperative that benefited both businesses. Michael Jordan's foundation stepped up its support, but with a twist. Instead of simply providing financial assistance, they created a mentorship network connecting successful business leaders with Queen's Rising locations. These mentors brought fresh perspectives and resources to help the bakeries adapt to changing economic conditions. The media attention that had once focused on Queen's Rising's expansion now highlighted its resilience. Serafina Vale's follow-up documentary captured the ways these community-centered businesses were helping their neighborhoods weather the economic storm. The story resonated with viewers across the country, inspiring other businesses to adopt similar community-focused approaches. First Metropolitan Bank, under pressure from shareholders to reduce risk, stood firm in its support of the Queen's Rising network. Kieran Hart, now the bank's president, pointed to the program's success in building stable, community-supported businesses that could adapt to changing conditions. As winter approached, signs of the strategy's success began to emerge. While many traditional businesses were closing, Queen's Rising locations were stabilizing. The combination of community support, adaptive pricing, and innovative programs had created a sustainable model for operating during economic hardship. More importantly, the bakeries had strengthened their roles as community anchors. They became gathering places where people could find not just food, but hope and support. Each location hosted job fairs, financial literacy workshops, and community support groups. They weren't just surviving the downturn, they were helping their communities survive it too. Nova Wren, documenting these developments for her ongoing series, observed something remarkable. The economic crisis had actually strengthened the bonds between Queen's Rising and its communities. When times get tough, she noted, people remember who stood by them. The success of Queen's Rising's response to the economic crisis attracted attention from economic developers and urban planners. They were particularly interested in how the business model balanced social responsibility with financial sustainability. Celeste found herself speaking at international conferences about community-centered business practices. As the year drew to a close, the Queen's Rising Network gathered for its annual meeting, this time with a focus on sharing strategies for community support. During economic hardship, the meeting, held at the original location, brought together owners, staff, and community leaders from across the country. During the gathering, Celeste announced a new initiative that would take Queen's Rising's community commitment even further. Each location would establish a community kitchen program, providing culinary training for unemployed residents and meals for families in need. The program would be funded through a combination of business revenues, grants, and community partnerships. Michael Jordan, speaking at the meeting, emphasized the broader significance of what Queen's Rising had achieved. This isn't just about running successful bakeries anymore, he said. You've created a new model for how businesses can serve their communities while remaining profitable. That's the real revolution here. Have you ever seen a crisis bring out the best in your community? Share your stories of businesses that stepped up during tough times in the comments below and let us know where you're watching from today. Sometimes the greatest strength comes not from avoiding challenges, but from facing them together. The story of Queen's Rising's response to economic hardship demonstrated that success in business isn't just measured in profits, but in the strength of community bonds. As Celeste often reminded her team, we don't just feed people's bodies, we feed their hopes, their dreams, and their belief in what a community can achieve together. As the new year approached, Queen's Rising stood as a beacon of hope in challenging times. The aroma of fresh bread still filled each location every morning, but now it carried an even deeper meaning. A promise that no matter how tough times got, communities could rise together, supporting each other through whatever challenges lay ahead. The legacy of that first confrontation in a bank lobby had grown into something far more significant than anyone could have imagined. Queen's Rising had become more than a network of bakeries. It was a movement, showing how business could be a force for community resilience and social change. As Celeste often said, looking at the lines of people still gathering at her door each morning, every loaf of bread we bake is a reminder that when we support each other, there's no challenge we can't rise above.